Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Let's chant one round of japa with Srila Prabhupada. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रीमद् भागवत गीता एज इट इज की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam for all. Let's recite Bhagavad Gita Shloka. We are reciting from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 11, text 33. Does anyone need to go first? Okay, then we'll just go in order. Somebody's raising. Isha, go ahead.
तस्मात्त्वमुत्तिष्ठेषु लभस्व जित्वा शत्रून् भुङ्क्ष्व राज्यं समृद्धम् मयैवैके हता पूर्वमेव निमित्तमात्रं भव सव्यसाचिन्. Therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Sabyasachi, can be but an instrument in the
Krishnashish.
You can't see it.
You can't see?
Sanskrit.
Oh, reverse.
Tasmat tvamuttishya yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungshva rajyam samriddham mayaivaita nihata purvameva nimittam atram bhava savyasachin. Therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory, conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Sabyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight.
Yeah, 1 second. Madhava, I'll just do the default view. Yeah, go ahead, Madhava.
Tasmatumuttistaya solabhasva jitva satrun bhungsvarajyam samriddham mayavaite nihata purvameva nimittamatram bhava savyasachin. Therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory, conquer your enemies, and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Savyasati, can be but an instrument in the fight.
Rasapriya.
Tasmatumuttistaya solabhasva jitva satrun bhungsvarajyam samriddham mayaivaite nihata purvameva nimittam atram bhava savyasachin. Therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory, conquer your enemies, and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Savyasati, can be but an instrument in the fight.
Yes, Medha and Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Go ahead.
Tasmatva yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungsva rajyam samraddham mayaivate nihattapa purvameva nimittamatram bhava savyasachin. Translation. Therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory, conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Sabyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. Thank you, Mataji. Medha is not here.
Okay. Priyanka Haripriya Mataji.
Others I'll go at last.
Yeah. Roya Mataji.
Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. Can I follow you on the text?
Yes. Sure. Yeah. Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Tasmat tvamuttishta yasho labhasva.
Tasmat tvomishta yaso labhasva.
Yeah. Please say again. Uttishta. Tasmat tvamuttishta yasho labhasva.
Tasmat tvam. Do I connect the M and the U from the word tavam uttishta?
Tasmat tvamuttishta. Yeah.
Tvumishta. Okay. Tasmat tvumishta yaso labhasva.
Jitva shatrun bhungshva rajyam samriddham.
Jitva satrun bhungshva rajyam samradam.
Mayaivaite nihatah purvameva.
Maivate nita purvameva.
Nimitta matram bhava savyasachin.
Nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. Therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory, conquer your enemies, and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Sabyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Priyanka Haripriya Mataji, you're the only one remaining.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes,
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
तस्मात् त्वमुत्तिष्ठ यशो लभस्व कृत्वा शत्रून् भुङ्क्ष्व राज्यं समृद्धम् मयैवैते निहिताः पूर्वमेव निमित्तमात्रं भव सव्यसाचिन्. Therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Sarvasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight.
Yes. So I'll also recite Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, text 33. Tasmat tvamuttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungshva rajyam samriddham mayaivaite nihatah purvameva nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. Therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Sabyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. So let's read Srimad Bhagavatam. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10. One second. No, not that. Not this either. So we'll open it again. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 10. The transcendental activities of Lord Ramchandra. Yeah. So we saw how after Ravana was killed, all the ladies from Sri Lanka came out because their husbands were all killed. Even Ravana's wives came out, and his principal queen was Mandodari. And when she came out, she started crying piteously, embracing the dead body of Ravana, beating her breasts and crying. And then she started speaking to the dead body of her husband. What did she say? That, one second. Oh my Lord, text 26. Oh my Lord, oh Master, you epitomized trouble for others, and therefore you were called Ravana. But now that you have been defeated, we also are defeated. For without you, the state of Lanka has been conquered by the enemy. To whom will it go for shelter? So, we, meaning the entire kingdom of Lanka, is defeated. Because you are defeated, now the whole kingdom is defeated. Who will protect this Lanka? This Lanka has been conquered by the enemy. O greatly fortunate one, you came under the influence of lusty desires, and therefore you could not understand the influence of Mother Sita. Now, because of her curse, you have been reduced to this state, having been killed by Lord Ramchandra. So then she also said how you couldn't understand the power of Sita Devi. Why? She's a chaste lady. So Srila Prabhupada explained there at length how a chaste lady, by following her dharma of being chaste to her husband, she achieves supernatural powers. So if such a chaste lady curses someone, then that person will have to suffer, right? His life can be shortened also. So Srila Prabhupada gave another example of Draupadi. She was also insulted. She was a chaste lady, and because she was insulted, handled roughly by dragging her forcibly into the assembly hall by holding her hair. Dushasan insulted her. Not only that, they tried to disrobe her in the assembly of these warriors. So because of that, this battle of Kurukshetra happened, and all those people who were a part of that act of insulting Draupadi, they were all destroyed, they were all killed, and their wives became widows. So the point is, anyone who insults or mistreats a chaste lady, they will have to face this consequence, like Ravana. What was Ravana's fault? He could not control his lusty desires, and because of that, his intelligence was covered. He couldn't understand the power of Sita Devi, who was a chaste lady, and uh, because of her curse, now he is killed. Then Mandodari is further saying, "O pleasure of the Rakshasa dynasty, because of you the state of Lanka and also we ourselves now have no protector. Because of your acts, right? You became lusty and then you kidnapped Sita Devi. So because of your acts, now we are without a protector. You got killed. By your deeds, you have made your body fit to be eaten by vultures and your soul fit to go to hell." Yes. So there Srila Prabhupada explained, anyone who is godless, right, like Ravana and others like Hiranyakashipu, Dantavakra, what is their destination? They will go to hell. They will go to hell. Their souls will go to hell. So Mandodari knew this. That's why she's saying, by your deeds you made your body fit to be eaten by vultures and your soul fit to go to hell. How did Mandodari know this? By following her dharma of being faithful to her husband. Anyone who carries out his dharma, he can understand, because he's in the mode of goodness. He can understand what is what. He can understand the future. But somebody who is covered in the modes of passion and ignorance, he cannot see. So Ravana was not able to see that he was going to go to hell because of his acts. Of course, Ravana didn't go to hell, but the reason he didn't go to hell is another important point. Yesterday we were discussing on this. Why Ravana didn't go to hell? Of course, we said because he is a devotee, he's actually Jai Vijay who came to this world to satisfy the Lord's desire to fight. That's there. But even in this life, he was constantly thinking about Lord Ramchandra. Although he was thinking about the Lord in an unfavorable way, not as a devotee, not out of affection, but he was thinking of Lord Ramchandra in fear. But even if one thinks about the Supreme Lord in fear or out of anger or out of envy, still, because the Lord is absolute, if you are constantly thinking about the Lord, you get liberation. What type of liberation? You can go and merge into the Lord. Not that you'll get loving devotional service. That you don't get. Loving devotional service you can get when you when you think about the Lord favorably. But even unfavorably, either out of fear or envy, if you're thinking about the Lord, then you get liberation. Ravana and Hiranyakashipu and who else? Kamsa, they were constantly thinking about the Supreme Lord, either out of fear or envy or anger. So therefore they were liberated. So if somebody else in the world today, if they say that, well, Ravana got liberated, so even I will do sinful activities and I will get liberated. Yes, you will get liberated. You will get liberated if you are thinking of the Lord at every moment like Ravana. Yes, you can get liberated. Are you actually thinking about the Lord like that? No, we won't be thinking. So therefore, the best course of action for us is to transcend the modes. How? By fixing our mind in Krishna, in devotional service to Krishna. That's the only way. So then, now we'll read the next verse, text 29. Priyanka Haripriya Mataji, your turn. श्रीशुक उवाच स्वानां विभीषणश्चक्रे कोसलेन्द्रानुमोदितः पितृमेधाविधानेन यद् उक्तं साम्प्रदायिकम्. Priyanka Mataji.
Translation. Shukdev Goswami said, Vibhishna, the pious brother of Ravana and devotee of Lord Ramchandra, received approval from Lord Ramchandra, the king of Kosala. Then he performed the prescribed funeral ceremonies for his family members to save them from the path to hell.
Another important point. So, Sukadev Goswami is narrating this to Parikshit Maharaj. What is he narrating in this 9th canto? The descendants coming from Vaivasvata Manu. So now we have come to Lord Ramchandra in that line. So Sukadev Goswami is saying, Vibhishan, the pious brother of Ravana and devotee of Lord Ramchandra, received approval from Lord Ramchandra, the king of Kosala. Then he performed the prescribed funeral ceremonies for his family members to save them from the path to hell. So another important point here is that the Lord punishes the miscreants, but he is never, under all circumstances, he is the well-wisher of the living entity. Suhridam sarva bhutanam, Krishna says, Bhagavad Gita 5:29. Suhridam means the best well-wisher of sarva bhutanam, all living entities, even of Ravana, even of those who are envious to him, he is the best well-wisher. So if he is the well-wisher, why he is killing that person? Because that's what that person needs. It is the Lord's mercy. When he kills somebody, it is his mercy. He does not envy anyone. The Lord does not envy anyone. So, just like a surgeon, right? To treat a disease, the surgeon may cut the body, and when you cut the body, it is very painful. But the purpose of the surgeon's cutting your body is to relieve you from that pain, ultimately, to relieve you from that suffering of that disease, ultimately. So similarly, when the Lord punishes somebody or even kills someone, it is the Lord's mercy on that person to treat that person's disease. But there is no envy. So therefore, even though the Lord killed Ravana and all his other soldiers and warriors, they were killed on the battlefield, Lord Ramchandra had Vibhishan, who is the younger brother of Ravana. Lord Ramchandra had Vibhishan perform the funeral rites. Why? If you don't perform funeral rites, then that person cannot progress further, right? He will be stuck. He will be stuck. His progress is thwarted. He can be stuck in a ghostly body, right? He won't be able to move further. So therefore, funeral rites must be performed. Also, when that body is not cremated, the soul, even though the soul is forced out of that body, he will have attachment to that body. We can understand that We've been in this body day and night for so many years, right? So even when you leave this body, you will be identifying with this body. You would want to go back into that body. But that's not within your capacity. You cannot go back on your own. But the desire is there. So you're stuck. You're stuck. You're not able to leave this and move further. You're thinking, I'll go back and this is my body, and all these people who are crying around this body, they are my family members. The soul has to go through that phase also. But that is why as soon as a person dies, as soon as possible, you should do the funeral rites, not keep the body for a long time. That is only suffering for the soul. But once you cremate the body, now the soul also will become detached. Oh, there's nothing left here. And he will move on to his next destination. So for all these reasons, the funeral rites must be performed. So Lord Ramchandra had Vibhishan perform the funeral rites. Let's read Srila Prabhupada's purport. So Roya Mataji, you can read the purport.
After giving up the body, one is transferred to another body. But sometimes, if one is too sinful, he is checked from transmigrating to another body, and thus he becomes a ghost. To save a diseased person from ghostly life, the funeral ceremony, or Shraddha?
Yes.
Shraddha ceremony?
Yes.
As prescribed in authorized Shastra, must be performed. Ravana was killed by Lord Ramchandra and was destined for hellish life. But by Lord Ramchandra's advice, Vibhishana, Ravana's brother, performed all the duties prescribed in relation to the dead. Thus, Ramachandra was kind to Ravana even after Ravana's death.
So, one thing is being attached to the body, and the other thing is why one is not able to get another body when someone is too sinful. When someone is too sinful, even after giving up the body, that means when one dies, he does not get the next body. He doesn't get the next body. And he remains in ghostly existence. That's a punishment for being very sinful. But if you perform proper ceremony, right, the Shraddha ceremony, what exactly happens in Shraddha ceremony is food is cooked and offered to Lord Vishnu. And then the prasad of Lord Vishnu is offered to this departed soul. By honoring the prasadam of Lord Vishnu, this person, his sins are reduced. And then he becomes eligible to go to the next destination. But when he's too sinful, he is forced to remain in that ghostly existence, which is very, very painful actually, because you don't have a gross body, but you still have a subtle body. Subtle body means you have a mind, you have intelligence, and you have false ego. So you have desires. When you have a mind, you have desires. You want to enjoy, you want to eat, you want to do everything, but you don't have a body. So it's very frustrating to be in a ghostly existence. That's why ghosts attack people. Why? They possess the body of another person, and they try to enjoy through that body because they don't have a body of their own. So therefore, if you perform the Shraddha ceremony, then that person who is in a ghostly existence can be relieved. We also hear in Srimad Bhagavatam, one person, Gokarna's brother, right? What's his name? Dhundukari, the Gokarna's brother. So he also became a ghost. He was very, very sinful. he was with prostitutes, he did all types of sinful activities, and finally he got killed by the same prostitutes. And then he became a ghost. Then how was he relieved from that? By doing Srimad Bhagavatam Katha. And this ghost came and sat and heard the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. And after the entire Srimad Bhagavatam was completed, then he was released from that ghostly existence. Not only was he released from that ghostly existence, he can actually, if you are very attentively hearing, the Vishnu Dutas from Vaikuntha came and took him. Of course, there were many others also listening to Bhagavad Katha. How Vishnu Dutas didn't take the others? So it also depends on, there is two. When there is Bhagavad Katha, there's a speaker and there is a listener. So how much you will benefit from the Katha depends on how attentively you are receiving the message. Sometimes even if the speaker is may not be so qualified, but it is still Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then Srimad Bhagavatam will act if you are attentive. So Gokarna, because he was in a desperate condition, he was in a ghostly existence. So he was hearing. It was like life and death to him. He was hearing every word very, very carefully. So as soon as the Srimad Bhagavatam was completed in 7 days, he immediately got, liberated from that ghostly existence. Others who were listening not so attentively, sometimes falling asleep, sometimes, like that, then they get that type of result. So just this was a note on being in a ghostly body. Right? So to save such a person from a ghostly life, the funeral ceremony called Shraddha ceremony is performed. So therefore, Lord Ramchandra was so kind that he asked Vibhishan to perform the Shraddha ceremony for Ravana and all his other warriors who were killed in the battlefield. Next. I think next is Vindhyavali Mataji. Yes, Mataji, next is your turn.
You want me to read the sloka?
You can read. Go ahead, Mataji.
Go ahead, Mataji.
Tato dadarsha Bhagavan Ashoka Vanikashrame Kshamam Sva Viraha Vyadhim Shimshapa Moolam Ashritam.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji.
Please accept my humble obeisances.
Therefore, Lord Ramchandra found Sita Devi sitting in a small cottage beneath the tree named Simsapa in a forest of Ashoka tree. She was lean and thin, being aggrieved because of separation from him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Ravana is killed, and then Ravana's funeral ceremony is also performed. That's taken care of by Vibhishan. Now, what was the whole purpose of this battle, this war? To release, of course, to kill Ravana, and then to retrieve Sita Devi, who was kidnapped by Ravana. So Lord Ramchandra sent Hanuman to bring Sita Devi. What was Sita Devi's condition at that time? She was in the forest of Ashoka trees. So Ravana had kept Sita Devi in, he had his private, it's like an orchard, but of Ashoka trees. And there under a Simshapa tree, Sita Devi was sitting. And she had become, it was 1 year now since she had been kidnapped. And she became very lean and thin in this time. what happened after that. Thereafter, Lord Ramchandra found Sita Devi sitting in a small cottage beneath the tree named Simshapa in a forest of Ashoka trees. She was lean and thin, being aggrieved because of separation from him. Next. So, I think Inbainia, your turn. Ramah priyatamam bharyam deenam vikshyanvakampata atmasandarshanahlada vikasan mukha pankajam.
Seeing his wife in that condition, Lord Ramchandra was very compassionate. When Ramchandra came before her, she was exceedingly happy to see her beloved, and her lotus-like mouth showed her joy.
Yeah. So actually what happened was Hanuman was sent first to inform Sita Devi that Lord Ramchandra has killed Ravana. So then there itself she was so joyful even before she saw Lord Ramchandra, and she wanted to go to Lord Ramchandra immediately. But it was Lord Ramchandra's order that she should be brought properly. She should take a bath, and she should be dressed nicely with ornaments, and then she should be brought out. Her clothes were soiled, and she was not eating anything. She was in a very bad shape. She wanted to go immediately, but Lord Ramchandra's order was no, she should be brought properly, bathed and dressed nicely. So that happened. She was brought. And when she came to Lord Ramchandra, she was so happy. She had been waiting for this moment for 1 year. And she was very joyful. It was visible, from her mouth. She was smiling. She was very, very joyful. What did Lord Ramchandra say to her then? When Ramchandra came before her, she was exceedingly happy to see her beloved, and her lotus-like mouth showed her joy. Aropya ruruhe yanam भ्रातृभ्याम हनुमद्युतः विभीषणाय भगवान् दत्त्वा रक्षो गणेशताम् लङ्काम् आयुश्च कल्पान्तं ययौ चीर्णाव्रतः पुरीम्. Inia?
After giving Vibhishan the power to rule the Rakshasa population of Lanka for the duration of 1 kalpa, Lord Ramchandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, placed Sita Devi on an airplane decorated with flowers and then got on the plane himself. The period for his living in the forest having ended, the Lord returned to Ayodhya, accompanied by Hanuman, Sugriv, and his brother Lakshmana.
So actually, there's one episode that happened before this. Lord Ramchandra said that I cannot accept you back as my wife, but it was my duty as a husband to release you from Ravana's hands. You were under my care when you were kidnapped. So it was my responsibility as your husband to release you. But because you have been staying in another man's house for 1 year, I cannot accept you back as my wife. You can go wherever you please. You are free to go, like that. This was a thunderbolt on Sita Devi's heart, right? If the Lord would not accept her back, she would have been better off being killed by Ravana or eaten by Ravana. Why did the Lord even take the trouble to, come across the ocean and killing so many Rakshasas, So then she had to prove her chastity, that even though she stayed for 9 months, I think 11 months, even though she stayed in Ravan, huh?
It's Kalpa, no?
No, Mataji, for about 1 year. Yeah. So even though it was less than 1 year, because her vow was, if Lord Ramchandra did not come back in 1 year's time, then she would end her life. So Lord Ramchandra did come and kill Ravana by that time. So Sita Devi said that I will have to prove my chastity, that even though I was in Ravana's house for almost 1 year, I was never unfaithful to you. I was never polluted. I was never touched by any other man. So in order to prove her chastity, she asked Lakshman to set a pyre, like a funeral pyre, and she would walk in the fire. If she were unchaste, or if she were polluted by another man, touched by another man, then she would burn in that fire. But if she didn't, if she was completely faithful to Lord Ramchandra, if she had not thought of another man even in her dreams, then she would come out of the fire unharmed, unburned. So Lakshman, that was another big test for Lakshman. How could he do that? What if she got burnt, right? So he didn't want to do that, but Lord Ramchandra said, do it. And Sita ji actually entered into that fire and she came out of it unharmed. Now, what is the reason for this whole pastime? Actually, it's not that Lord Ramchandra did not trust Sita Devi, but before Ravana came, who is Sita Devi? Sita Devi is the internal energy of Lord Ramchandra. She's from the spiritual world. Ravana is a demon, Rakshasa in this world. How can anything material touch spirit? He could never touch Sita Devi. So before Ravana came, Lord Ramchandra had kept the original Sita Devi with Agni in fire. And he created a Maya Sita. So this Maya Sita was actually kidnapped by Ravana. So now, after Ravana is killed, Lord Ramchandra should bring back his own Sita Devi, who was kept with Agni.
You will send this Maya and the
So therefore, this Maya Sita entered into Agni and the original Sita came out back to Lord Ramchandra. That is the reason for this whole pastime. So after this, Lord Ramchandra had already coronated Vibhishan even before the battle. He had coronated Vibhishan as the king of Lanka. So now when Ravana is killed, officially he was declared, and the ceremony, the actual ceremony, was performed, and Vibhishan was, made to sit on the throne of Lanka. He was given charge. Then Lord Ramchandra, his 14 years of exile had also ended at this time. So along with Sita Devi, Lakshman, and also the Vanaras, Hanuman, Sugriva, even Vibhishan, they all went to Ayodhya. So that's what happened. We are in this chapter, we are reading about the activities of Lord Ramchandra. So in a nutshell, we are seeing the whole Ramayana. So after giving Vibhishan the power to rule the Rakshasa population of Lanka for the duration of 1 kalpa. Yeah, here 1 kalpa. So, you know what is 1 kalpa? 1 kalpa is 1 day of Lord Brahma. How long is 1 day of Lord Brahma? 1 day.
1,000
Yes.
years?
No, not 1,000 years.
No.
So,
4.
We have 4 yugas: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga lasts for 432,000 years.
4 million 32. No.
4,32,000. So 432,000 years is Kali Yuga. The previous
Like
one,
that.
Dwapar Yuga, is twice Kali Yuga. 2 times 432,000. And the Yuga before that, Treta Yuga, is 3 times Kali Yuga. 3 times 432,000. And Satya Yuga is 4 times Kali Yuga. So if you add up these 4 together, that is called one cycle, one Yuga cycle.
One day for Brahma.
No.
No.
1,000 such cycles is one day
1,000 cycles.
So this is one kalpa. So Vibhishan would be the king of Lanka for one kalpa. That means he is still the king of Lanka even now. For one full kalpa. This just happened. Vibhishan was coronated as the king in the last Treta Yuga. This Treta Yuga is still part of one Yuga cycle. We are in Kali Yuga now. Like this 1,000 cycles. And we are in which cycle specifically? We are in the 28th cycle. Again, this one day of Brahma is divided into 14 parts. It's called 14 Manvantaras. We are in the 7th Manvantara. And in each Manvantara, so if you divide 1000 by 14, it will come to 71. So in the 7th Manvantara, out of those 71 cycles, we are in the 28th cycle now. And in this 28th cycle, we are in Kali Yuga. So in the 28th cycles, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, Vibhishan was coronated as the king, but he would remain as the king for one full kalpa. So we are only in Kali Yuga. He is still the king of Lanka. External. And Vibhishan, we also see when we go to Jagannath Puri, we will hear there, Vibhishan still comes to take darshan of Lord Jagannath. He comes. But because he's from Treta Yuga, he's very tall. In Kali Yuga, people have become short. But in Treta Yuga, they are very tall. So when Vibhishan comes, he's a very tall person. He had come even at the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. A very tall person had come. So like that. So in this way, Lord Ramchandra coronated Vibhishan.
Their age also like 400 years like that.
Of course, yes.
Not like Kali Yuga.
No, they live for 10,000 years.
10,000 years.
But of course, if he is to rule for one kalpa, he will have to live that long, not only 10,000 years. So he will have a very long life, like that. So after this, Lord Ramchandra went back to Ayodhya. Let's see what happened after that. Avakiryamanaha sukusumair Avakiryamanaha sukusumair Lokapalarpitaipathi Upagiyamana charitaha Shatadhrityadibhirmuda. So, Jai Shri Mataji and Jai Ganesh Prabhu are there?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
When Lord Ramachandra returned to his capital, Ayodhya, he was greeted on the road by the princely order, who showered his body with beautiful fragrant flowers, while great personalities like Lord Brahma and other demigods glorified the activities of the Lord in great jubilation. Thank you.
Thank you. So even before reaching Ayodhya, on the way back, first Lord Ramchandra met his brother Bharat. Bharat was waiting for Lord Ramchandra. This whole thing happened. Lord Ramchandra was sent to exile because his mother, Bharat's mother Kaikeyi, wanted Bharat to be coronated as king. And at that time, Bharat was not in Ayodhya. He had gone to his maternal grandfather's place. So he was not aware of the happenings in Ayodhya. So after Lord Ramchandra was sent away to the forest, and in separation from Lord Ramchandra, when his father Dasharath also died, gave up his body, then Bharat was called. There was nobody to do the final rites for Dasharath Maharaj. Lord Ramchandra and Lakshman were gone. Bharat and Shatrughna were not at home. So they were called without informing them of exactly what happened. And when Bharat came, and he found out what happened, he held himself responsible for everything, for his father's death, for Lord Ramchandra's being exiled. He could not forgive himself. So he refused to accept the throne. And he said, for as long as Lord Ramchandra is in the forest, actually, first of all, he went to the forest, found out where Lord Ramchandra was, tried to bring him back to Ayodhya, tried to convince him that he should become the king. And Lord Ramchandra did not agree. Then he took the Paduka, right, the shoes of Lord Ramchandra, and he said, you will rule the kingdom. Your shoes will be the king. I will simply be a representative. And for myself, I will live the life of an ascetic. I won't even live inside the city of Ayodhya. I will live on the outskirts in a small straw hut, and I will perform tapasya. I will still carry out, I will take care of the city, the kingdom, but on your behalf, as your representative, as your servant. And he also accepted the dress of an ascetic, wearing only tree bark, right? And like this he lived for 14 years. So before Lord Ramchandra went to Ayodhya, he actually, and Bharat was waiting, counting days, counting moments. He knew exactly, right? 14 years, he's counting days. Lord Ramchandra will be back. So Lord Ramchandra was going to reciprocate with Bharat's love. So he first came to Bharat. And then after meeting with Bharat, taking Bharat, then he went to Ayodhya. So here it is said, after going to Ayodhya, when Lord Ramchandra returned to his capital Ayodhya, he was greeted on the road by the princely order, who showered his body with beautiful, fragrant flowers, while great personalities like Lord Brahma and other demigods glorified the activities of the Lord in great jubilation. See, when the Supreme Lord is performing pastimes on the earth, all the demigods are watching at every moment the pastimes of the Lord, and they are celebrating. We see in Krishna Leela also, whenever Krishna killed any demon, the demigods, they are dancing in great jubilation, showering flowers, playing musical instruments, singing, glorifying the Lord. So when Lord Ramchandra came back to Ayodhya, this was a time of great celebration, even for the demigods. Lord Brahma was glorifying Lord Ramchandra. Next verse. Gomutra yavakam shrutva भ्रातरं वल्कलाम्बरं महाकारुणिको तप्यज जटिलं स्थंडिलेशयम्. Jai Ganesh Prabhu is there?
No, Mataji.
Okay. Isha.
Upon reaching Ayodhya, Lord Ramachandra heard that in his absence, his brother Bharat was eating barley cooked in the urine of a cow, covering his body with the bark of trees, wearing matted locks of hair, and lying on a mattress of kusha. The most merciful Lord very much lamented this.
So Lord Ramchandra was not aware. Well, of course the Lord is aware, but when he heard about Bharat's strict austerities, severe austerities, what was the austerity? He was eating 14 years. Now we are, for Chaturmas, we observe some simple vrata austerity. And then in Kartik, sometimes, some devotees observe. And now, especially the last 5 days, Bhishma Panchaka, devotees observe vrata. You know what vrata they do here in Mayapur? Of the 5 days, the first day they accept cow dung only, nothing else. Second day, cow urine. Third day, cow milk. Fourth day, yogurt. And fifth day, panchagavya. All together they accept. That's all. So this is the vrata. This is quite severe for many. So therefore you have different levels. If you're not able to observe this, then the next level is you accept Ekadasi Prasadam. right? Take some fruits like that. And if your health does not permit that also, right? Sometimes you have diabetes and all that, then you can take havishya. Havishya means rice and moong dal, plain, right? Maybe a little bit of salt, but very simple diet. So if we do it for 5 days, or sometimes they do for Purushottam Mas, they may do for 1 month. Here, Bharat did this for 14 years. Every day he was eating barley that was soaked in cow urine for 14 years. Just imagine the type of austerity. When Lord Ramchandra found out about this, he lamented. And who is Bharat? He is a Kshatriya. Kshatriyas, they grow up in opulence, in royalty. They eat the best foods. And besides that, he's the Supreme Lord. He's an expansion of the Supreme Lord. For him to live like this, it was very, very painful to Lord Ramchandra's heart. Yes, Mataji, Vindhyavali Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, some of these things, like going back to Sita, Sita, actually she's a Maya Sita, and Rama knows. How come Ravanasura also did lot of tapasyas and everything? They say his tapasyas were very, very strong about Shiva and all. He did it. How come he doesn't know anything like that? He didn't have the power. See,
Yes,
that was surprising. See, that is a... And then, I don't know, when in my childhood I heard one washerman will come and say, no, Sita, Rama accepted his wife. No, I don't want to accept my wife. Like that stories I heard.
Yes.
What I'm saying is Ravanasura is a very, very, very powerful king. He's not a... he came like that, but he wanted Sita. But still he didn't touch her. He was very serious about that. Unless she says only.
No. It's not like that. We discussed that already. You brought it up earlier also and we discussed it. It's not that he didn't touch her because he respected that she's not accepting. Only when she accepts, then he will touch her. It's not like that. He had a curse on his head because this is not the first time that he kidnapped a lady. He raped so many ladies in the past. So the reason he didn't touch Sita Devi is because when he had raped Rambha, Apsara Rambha, Ravana was cursed that the next time you take any woman by force against her will, you will die immediately. Your head will be broken to 1,000 pieces and you'll die. So he didn't want to end his life. Because of that curse, he refrained. Otherwise, he would have done it. So he's not a noble person that way.
But how come he doesn't know she's Maya Sita?
How come he doesn't know? Again. Yeah, so he's not a devotee. How will he know? He may have done austerities. So in Bhagavad Gita, we see austerities are also done in the 3 modes. Austerity can be done in goodness, austerity can be done in passion, austerity can be done in ignorance. His austerities were done in ignorance. He wanted power, Hiranyakashipu also did austerity. But his austerity was he wanted to control the whole universe. The result of all that austerity is he got killed. So such austerities are not auspicious. The results that they get from such austerities are also not auspicious. Like that. But those austerities which are done in the mode of goodness, similarly, charity also, it is in the 3 modes. All activities are in the 3 modes. Activities that are done in the modes of ignorance are not auspicious, even though it may be austerity, like that.
Yeah. And the brother like Bharat and Lakshman, I don't know, we have yet to come across.
Of course, right. When the Lord sets an example, that's the topmost, that's the best, right? So we can only try to follow in the footsteps. Yeah.
Even that way, nobody is doing. It's very hard to do.
Kali Yuga is progressing, so.
Kali Yuga.
Okay, so let's. Thank you, Mataji. So upon reaching Ayodhya, Lord Ramchandra heard about Bharat's austerities and he lamented. He very much lamented this. He was very, very merciful, very loving, affectionate elder brother. So even just seeing Bharat like that, dressed in matted hair and wearing tree barks, Lord Ramchandra very much lamented. Next. So next Krishna Shish. Bharatah praptam akarnya pauramatya purohitaihi paduke shirasi nyasya ramam pradyudyato grajam nandigramad swashibirad गीतवादित्र निस्वनैः ब्रह्मघोषेण च मुहुः पठद्भिर्ब्रह्मवादिभिः स्वर्णकक्षा पताकाभिर्हैमैश्चित्रध्वजैरथैः सद् अश्वैरुक्मसन्नाहैर्भटैः पुरटवर्मभिः श्रेणीभिर्वारमुख्याभिर्हृत्यैश्चैवापदानुगैः पारमेष्ट्यान्युपादाय पण्यान्युच्चावचानि च पादयोर्न्यपतत्प्रेम्णा प्रक्लिन्ना हृदये क्षणः. Yeah, Krishna.
When Lord Bharata understood that Lord Ramchandra was returning to the capital, Ayodhya, he immediately took upon his own head Lord Ramchandra's wooden shoes and came out from his camp at Nandigram. Lord Bharat was accompanied by ministers, priests, and other respectable citizens, by professional musicians vibrating pleasing musical sounds, and by learned brahmanas loudly chanting Vedic hymns. Following in the procession were chariots drawn by beautiful horses with harnesses of golden rope. These chariots were decorated by flags with golden embroidery and by other flags of various sizes and patterns. There were soldiers bedecked with golden armor, servants bearing betel nut, and many well-known and beautiful prostitutes. Many servants followed on foot, bearing an umbrella, whisks, different grades of precious jewels, and other paraphernalia befitting a royal reception. Accompanied in this way, Lord Bharata, his heart softened in ecstasy and his eyes full of tears, approached Lord Ramchandra and fell at his lotus feet with great ecstatic love.
Yes, so this Bharat Milap, the meeting of Lord Ramchandra with Lord Bharat, is a very, very touching episode of the Ramayana. So, even though Bharat was himself, so where was Bharat staying? Lord Bharat was staying in Nandigram. Nandigram is in the outskirts of Ayodhya. In his small straw hut, he was staying there. Nevertheless, he was ruling on behalf of Lord Ramchandra. So, when Lord Ramchandra was to come, when the date for his arrival arrived, Bharat arranged for a royal reception for Lord Ramchandra. So, how was this reception? He immediately took upon his own head Lord Ramchandra's wooden shoes and came out of his camp at Nandigram. And Bharat was accompanied by ministers, priests, and other respectable citizens, by professional musicians vibrating pleasing musical sounds, and by learned brahmanas loudly chanting Vedic hymns. So we see when a very important person, especially when the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes, this is how you should receive the Lord. So whenever we perform Abhishek for the Lord, there is music, there is glorification of the Lord in the form of song, and also there are Vedic mantras chanted by qualified brahmanas. So similarly, Bharat had also arranged for that. Then also many respectable persons, yes, the leaders should be there. The important personality should be there. When the Lord is invited, all the respectable citizens must be present. And they were present here. Following in the procession were chariots drawn by beautiful horses with harnesses of golden rope. These chariots were decorated by flags with golden embroidery and by other flags of various sizes and patterns. Just to show, to give that festive, to create that festive atmosphere, right? The chariots are decorated with so many flags with golden embroidery. Also, there were soldiers in golden armor, right? Marching. A royal reception. If the president of another country is visiting, or even your own president is coming back, let's say he went somewhere outside and is coming back, how is he received? Here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How should he be received? Like that. And then servants bearing betel nut. What is the significance of this betel nut? So we see this, we read about this in another place in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, that certain plants are fruits and trees, they are considered auspicious. So whenever there is a festival or like this, when you are inviting the Lord, you keep these auspicious plants, like for example, mango leaves, right? Or new grains, that's also auspicious. Coconuts, right? So these are all auspicious trees. So here, betel nuts, right? Servants were carrying betel nuts. And many well-known and beautiful prostitutes. So prostitutes, what do? They come and they dress up very nicely and they sing, right? Like that. So many, again, see, why prostitutes? You may get this question, why prostitutes? You see, in a Vedic society, married ladies and, daughters, sisters, mothers of respectable families, they don't go out and perform in public. They don't perform. They are always, they stay, in parda, right? They stay chaste. They are not to be enjoyed by the public. They are meant for their husband and within their family. They are protected. The chastity of the woman is protected. Nevertheless, men like to enjoy. So therefore, there is a class of ladies called the prostitutes. They are also maintained. Then who become prostitutes? So there Srila Prabhupada explained that the female population is always greater than the male population. So therefore, polygamy is allowed. Otherwise, if you say one man can marry only one wife, there will be many women without a husband. That means without a protector. That's why in Vedic society, one man is allowed to marry more than one wife, provided he's actually able to give them protection for life. Give them all facilities of a home, right? And maintenance and everything, and he should be there with them. Then yes, he's allowed. So according to the capacity of a man, he can marry either 2, 3, 4, 10, sometimes hundreds also, if he has that capacity. But still, there are some women who don't have a husband. Then they become prostitutes. And what do? So this is a good arrangement, Srila Prabhupada says. Why it is a good arrangement? Then men don't go to pollute the wives of other men. They leave them alone. They know that they can go to the prostitutes. They don't go and pollute the respectable ladies, the wives and daughters of family people. They don't do that. And the prostitutes are also, because now they don't have anyone, no protector, no husband, then they are also maintained by the king. They are also protected. They are also maintained. So this system is there in the Vedic society. So on occasions like this, even in weddings, prostitutes are invited, they come and they dance and they sing and they're given gifts and they're maintained. So here also we see they come nicely decorated. Even in Krishna's pastime, when Krishna enters Dwaraka, there also we see the prostitutes. And we see Krishna is reciprocating with them. He's reciprocating with them, right? It's not that they're looked down. No. So beautiful prostitutes, they were also there to receive Lord Ramchandra. Many servants followed on foot, bearing an umbrella, whisks, different grades of precious jewels and other paraphernalia befitting a royal reception. Accompanied in this way, Lord Bharat, his heart softened in ecstasy and his eyes full of tears, approached Lord Ramchandra and fell at his feet with great ecstatic love. So we will stop reading Srimad Bhagavatam here today. We will continue tomorrow and Madhava will read tomorrow. And let's read Bhagavad Gita. We are reading from Bhagavad Gita introduction. We will read some more, another paragraph, and then we'll read a little bit of Leelamrita before we end today's session. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, introduction, continuation. So we saw that the difference between the spiritual sky and material sky. The spiritual sky does not need a sun or moon to illuminate, isn't it? Whereas the material sky is dark by nature, it is illuminated by the sun, and this sun light is also borrowed from Brahma Jyoti, like that. Whereas the spiritual sky is nothing but Brahma Jyoti, so it is self-luminous. It doesn't need any light from outside. Then, yes. So then Srila Prabhupada talked about traveling from one planet to another, right? So who goes to this spiritual sky? That's a question. Okay, we understood what is the spiritual sky, what is the material sky. Who goes to the spiritual sky? One who worships the Supreme Lord, who resides in the spiritual sky, in the spiritual planet. You can worship Lord Ramchandra, Lord Vishnu. Then you'll go to Vaikuntha or Ayodhya. And if you worship Lord Krishna, you can go to Dwaraka, Mathura or Goloka, like that. So one who worships the Supreme Lord, he will go to the spiritual sky, to a spiritual planet. And one who worships a demigod who's within this material sky, material planet, he will go to that material planet, like that. Yanti deva vrata devan, pitrin yanti pitrivrataha. And if you worship your ancestors, you go to the planet where the ancestors are there, like that. So the material sky is illuminated by sun and moon. Sun and moon are also planets of demigods. So you will remain within this material world. If you're worshipping demigods, you don't go to the spiritual world. So then again, Srila Prabhupada brought the point. People try to go to other planets by using some machines, right? In rockets or in Sputniks. But that's not the way to go. That's not the way to go. Even if you manage to go there, you cannot stay there. You cannot stay. So what is the way to go? Again, worship that particular demigod. Then you can go to that demigod's planet and you can actually stay there as long as you have those pious credits. As long as you're staying there, you're spending whatever pious credits you have accumulated. When your pious credits are spent, again you come back to the earthly planet. Next paragraph. Yet, Bhagavad Gita does not advise us to go to any of the planets in this material world. Yes, this is the way to go. You want to go to heavenly planets? Worship that particular demigod. But Bhagavad Gita does not advise us to go to any planets in this material world. Because even if we go to Brahmaloka, the topmost, highest planet, still, right? And how you go there? Let's say through some sort of mechanical contrivance, by maybe traveling for 40,000 years. Let's say, right? You got a machine, and in order for you to reach Brahmaloka, it takes 40,000 years. How long is your life? Are you going to live 40,000 years to go to Brahmaloka? But let's say even if you went, we will still find the material inconveniences of birth, death, disease, and old age, even there. Because birth, death, old age, and disease, these are the qualities of this material world. So whichever material planet you go to, you cannot escape these conditions. But one who wants to approach the supreme planet Krishna Loka or any other planet within the spiritual sky will not meet with these material inconveniences. There is no death, no birth, no disease, no old age if you go to the spiritual sky. Amongst all of the planets in the spiritual sky, there is one supreme planet called Golok Vrindavan, the original planet in the abode of the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. All of this information is given in Bhagavad Gita, and we are given through its instruction information how to leave the material world and begin a truly blissful life in the spiritual sky. So we were reading all this to know what is the subject discussed in Bhagavad Gita. What do we learn in Bhagavad Gita? So all this will be discussed in Bhagavad Gita. What is the spiritual sky? What is the material sky? And how to leave this material sky? And what happens when you go to the spiritual sky? All this is discussed in Bhagavad Gita. So I'll read Srila Prabhupada's Leela Amrita. It's almost time now. Actually, anyway. Srila Prabhupada's Leela Amrita. Continuation. So in New York Times, there was a headline: New York City hospitals report marked rise in LSD cases admitted for care. Protest against US participation in Vietnam War mounts. This was the headline. The weather grew cold, but there was no snow in December. On Columbus Avenue, shops were selling Christmas trees, and the continental restaurants were bright with holiday lighting. On 72nd, the Retailers Association erected tall red poles topped with green tinsel Christmas trees. The tops of the trees on both sides of the street sprouted tinsel garlands that spanned the street and joined in red tinsel stars surrounded by colored lights. Okay, this is Christmas decorations. Although Srila Prabhupada did no Christmas shopping, he visited many bookstores, Orientalia, Sam Weiser's, Doubleday, the Paragon, and others, trying to sell his Srimad Bhagavatams. Mrs. Ferber, the wife of the Paragon Book Gallery proprietor, considered Prabhupada a pleasant and extremely polite small gentleman. The first time he called, she wasn't interested in his books, but he tried again, and she took several volumes. Prabhupada used to stop by about once a week, and since his books were selling regularly, he would collect. Sometimes, when he needed copies to sell personally, he would come by and pick them up from Mrs. Ferber, and sometimes he would phone to ask her how his books were selling. So we saw previously, Srila Prabhupada had his books in the libraries, and he would go regularly to see what was the condition, and he would see that people were actually borrowing Srimad Bhagavatams and reading. And during Christmas, so now we do the Christmas marathon all over the world. Devotees go out on the streets distributing books. Srila Prabhupada did it himself first. Before he asked his disciples to do later on, he himself was doing. That's what we are seeing here. He's alone. He didn't have any disciples yet, no followers. He would go to the stores, bookstores himself, and he would, they wouldn't take the books the first time, he would go back again. and the next time they would take. And then after they took, he would come back to check if there were any sales. And he would personally also go and sell on the streets. So that's what the devotees do now to please Srila Prabhupada. So sometimes when he needed copies to sell personally, he would also sell personally. So if he needed more copies, he would come by and pick them up from Mrs. Ferber, and sometimes he would phone to ask her how his books were selling. Mrs. Ferber. Every time he came, he would ask for a glass of water. If a customer would make such a request, I would ordinarily say, there is the water cooler, right? Just go and take it. But because he was an old man, I couldn't tell him that, of course. He was very polite always, very modest, and a great scholar. So whenever he would ask, I would fetch him a cup of water personally. So her life is perfected serving Srila Prabhupada by fetching a cup of water for Srila Prabhupada. So we will stop here. It's already 6:30 here. Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much for your kind attention. I'll see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.